oh my goodness, I'm back in this little destructive pattern of mine. What am I solving by eating this right now? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Today we are talking sugar, and we're talking about your health, and we're talking about, well, specifically we're talking about my health. Okay, because obviously there's only one person that I can really talk about and share personal experience with, because look, I'm gonna go on a tangent real quick. When you talk about other people and other people's experiences, it's really hard to fully describe what they were truly feeling unless you have experienced it yourself. So I want to tell you guys about my journey with sugar, my journey being out of shape and becoming unathletic again and trying to become athletic again and all the things, because you guys, I used to be a freaking athlete. Y'all, I used to be an athlete, okay? I used to be able to run a 6:05 mile. Imagine if I were able to run sub 6. Imagine if I could get myself to that point where I run a sub 6 mile. Like, how freaking cool would that be? Also, the reason this is on my mind is because I just watched a video. I'm sure you guys know Natalie Noel. She had a 6-month body transformation. In the first 3 minutes of the video, she runs a mile. And whenever I see people running, racing, accomplishing something hard, it makes me so emotional, because as someone who ran cross country and long distance track and had also played soccer for years, stuff like that just gets me emotional because I feel the emotions. I feel that excitement, that runner's high, that feeling of I just did something super fucking hard. And that's amazing. The reason I'm saying this is because no matter how far gone you feel like you've fallen, no matter how far back into old patterns you've fell, it doesn't mean that that is your end. It doesn't mean that that's where you're left forever. What that does mean is that you now have room for opportunity to grow in an area again. And there is no greater accomplishment than being able to overcome something again. Now, I would say an even greater accomplishment is being able to sustain it for a long period of time. But when you have life, life happens. Okay? We have ebbs and flows in life. There's no blame, there's no shame, there's no guilt around that. So you know what? Hell yeah. I have been super in shape, and I've also been super out of shape. And guess what? I have had sugar addictions, and I've gotten out of sugar addictions. So I want to talk to you about sugar addictions today. And why does this even matter, Brittany? What's the whole point of this? Why are you telling me about sugar? Why is this significant? I'm telling you about sugar today because I was researching a lot about sugar this morning, and I was talking to my girls about their glucose levels. So I figured, why not have this conversation with everybody? Because this should be a conversation that we normalize. This should be a topic that we talk about. So here's the thing. I spent a good amount of time in Texas and Mexico with my family. In those 2 to 3 weeks, I was eating a lot of processed sugar. I was also not working out as consistently as I usually would be. I was also feeling a good amount of stress come up. I was feeling a lot of old feelings, old patterns of anxiety come up. My sleep wasn't that great because I was traveling a lot. And not that I wasn't fully focused on my health, but I wasn't making my health a priority. I was making my time spent with family my priority. And of course, my business. So when one thing gets put on a pedestal over another, something has to drop. And so my health was dropping, and I could feel it. I could feel my annoyance and frustration start to rise, to the point where there was one morning specifically in Mexico that my dad comes into the room and I'm trying to get work done, and he looks at me and he goes, Britt, like, are you gonna come on a walk with us? Or are you gonna eat breakfast with us? And I looked at him, I go, Dad, I need you to please leave me alone. I am so stressed out. I'm so busy. I need to handle all of my stuff. And he looks at me and he goes, okay, there's no need to get upset. And I was like, I'm losing my mind. So here's the thing. When we put ourselves lower on the priority list, everything else suffers. This was like my rock bottom. I've hit lower rock bottoms than this, let's be fully honest. But this was my rock bottom at this point because I was realizing, oh my goodness, I'm back in this little destructive pattern of mine where I go back into this cycle of putting my health lower than everything else. And mentally, I feel like I'm creating space for other things in my life. But in reality, by putting myself lower than everything else around me, I'm worsening my relationships with my family because I'm not as present. My mind is fixated on so many other things because I'm fixated on what's not going well within myself. And for 3, my business started suffering because I wasn't able to fully give to my girls. Now, thank God I have assistant coaches. I have an amazing team. I have amazing clients that I work with who obviously they still get the best of the best because I've also made a lot of plans and lessons and everything like that when I am in a great place for them to be able to receive. So nothing really suffered. And I have content ready and available for me. So nothing really suffered. And it was only 2 weeks. But my health suffered. And that's what I really, really cared about. So let's talk sugar now, because by the end of my trip with my family, I 100% had a sugar addiction again. I was eating, I think by the last day I was in Mexico, I had like a croissant, I had pastries, it was just ridiculous. My glucose levels were through the roof, which in turn increases sugar content in my bloodstream, which then in turn increases the amount of insulin that is produced in my body, which then, of course, all my body is doing is what it should be doing, but it creates these feelings of depression and anxiety and stress over time that ultimately are detrimental to your mental health and your overall well-being because it impacts your sleep. It impacts so many things in your life. From Mexico, obviously you guys know, my plan was to come to Costa Rica. When I was coming to Costa Rica, I made a decision that I was going to put all of my focus and effort into my health and into my business and nothing else. This was going to be my main priority and focus. So I said, okay, let's see what I can do and how productive I can be and how locked in I can be while I'm in Costa Rica. And keep in mind, I'm living in Costa Rica for 2 months. So upon arriving, I realized very quickly that I needed to get groceries if I wanted to eat anything. So the first thing I did was I found a grocery store close by. I walked to it because I was like, it starts now. We start today. We don't wait. We start today. So I walked to a grocery store and I got all the healthy foods. I got eggs, I got meat, I got chicken, I got peanut butter, all the things, right? And then I looked while I was standing in line and I see chocolate covered bananas. And I look at them, I said, I'm gonna bring that too. Because I knew myself. In my head, I go, look, I'm already addicted to sugar. It's going to be worse for me to try to cut this off cold turkey than it would be for me to start slowly weaning back on it. So of course, like clockwork, nighttime rolls around, my energy levels are dropping, my dopamine levels are dropping a little bit, I'm a little bit more tired, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so many thoughts coming in my head. There's so much that I haven't worked through in the last couple weeks because I haven't been putting myself first. So all of these emotions that I hadn't worked through are bubbling up. And what do? When I'm feeling a lot of emotions that I'm not ready to work through is I suppress with food. So I grab the chocolate covered bananas and I start eating them. And I'm like, okay, I'm eating these. Why am I eating these? I go through the motions of the questions I ask myself. These are literally the same things I do with my clients. These are the same questions I work through with my clients. Okay, I'm eating these and I'm like, okay, why am I eating these? Okay, I'm eating these because clearly I'm coping with some sort of emotion. This is not doing anything for me. So I'm eating these and it makes me stop for a second and makes me question, okay, why am I doing this? I put the bananas away. I take chamomile tea and I drink my tea and I grab my journal and I start writing. Here's the thing with sugar addictions is when you have a sugar addiction, what I noticed within myself is that I will be addicted to sugar. There's likely some sort of underlying reason, whether you're suppressing something or whatever, you're coping with food. Then you start trying to break the cycle. But when you're trying to break the cycle, recognize your brain attaches a lot of joy and happiness to this sugary food. So you have to find some sort of supplement. You can do this through natural sunlight, going outside and just standing in the sun with the sunlight hitting your face. I did that this morning, it was amazing. You can do that. You can do breath work. Breath work is the most amazing way. You can eat something healthy. I don't know what it is. Avocados bring me so much joy, guys. Have some avocados, have a frozen blueberry, have a frozen strawberry. There are alternatives for us. That's what's amazing about this world, is we are provided with so many alternatives and substitutes for things. But ultimately, when you work through what's truly going on within yourself, that's where you're actually going to be able to break this cycle of addiction. So from there, I basically was able to write down stuff, and the next night rolls around, I am feeling this craving of sugar again. And so I'm like, okay, obviously my body is trying to raise my glucose levels. There must be a reason for this. So I ate some peanut butter, and it's still like there was still something missing, right? So I have some more of the chocolate covered bananas. It's the sugar addiction. Here's the thing with sugar is when you eat one piece of chocolate one night, the next night, you're gonna need 2 pieces of chocolate to satisfy the same amount of craving. I felt like I needed even more chocolate that night. I ate double the amount of bananas covered in chocolate. Same thing, I write down stuff, I journal, I meditate, and I go to sleep. The following night, I'm realizing that I'm going into this pattern of, okay, what am I missing? I'm still stressed because I feel like I have a lot of things to do still. There's still a lot on my mind. There's still a lot that I need to be working on. And so instead of going straight for the sugar, I just start writing down first. And I start writing down all the things that I need to do, all the things that I need to accomplish. And then I asked myself, okay, what am I solving by eating this right now? And I was like, okay, you know what? I do need something comforting. So instead of having a lot of chocolate, I just had a couple pieces. And I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go do something healthier. And I meditated instead, and I journaled. And that was a healthier alternative for me than sitting there and continuing to consume when in reality that wouldn't really satisfy what my soul needed. The point of all of this is really just to show you and tell you food is a very powerful tool. Journaling is also a very powerful tool. Breath work is also a very powerful tool. The sun outside is a very powerful tool. Drinking relaxing tea is a very powerful tool. My point is that we have options here. We have so many things available to us, but it's up to us to decide what we are going to choose in the moments that are hardest for us. Are you going to decide to reach for the easiest coping mechanism? Or are you going to choose to do something that is actually going to fuel your body in ways that are going to be beneficial for you long term and be beneficial for your soul? Or are you going to choose things that aren't going to benefit you down the line? Because that is going to make the biggest difference for you in your life. I hope that helped. Went on a whole tangent about sugar, running, being healthy, but that's just how my brain works. And ultimately, I want you guys to see that too, because life is a lot more than just doing things. We live here first. So I want to just share my experience with you guys, and I want to share real situations because not enough people share their real life. So I hope this inspires you. I hope this encourages you to choose something healthy for yourself. And I want to thank you guys for watching because I know that your attention can be put anywhere, but you're choosing to be here, and I appreciate that so much. So blessings to you. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one.